thank our sponsor, Parati's Quality Meats, located in Cranford, New Jersey, serving customers all over New Jersey for the past 50 years. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coaches Talk, which was started by the Shore Football Report, which is covering Shore Conference high school football on social media. Now, this Coaches Talk show is going to talk to head football coaches, assistant football coaches, retired football coaches, all from the Shore Conference. But today, on my first show, I wanted to get a coach from outside the Shore Conference who has ties in the Shore Conference, and my buddy, my friend, Steve Fentz, the head football coach at New Egypt. I want to welcome you to our talk show today, Steve.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you having me. It's great to talk some football with you, as always.
It's awesome to have you. And you are the first guest ever. Now, we did Instagram Live last year, and I'm taking everything off Instagram. That was nerve-wracking, talking, with uncut stuff and, but we had fun with it. But now we're going to go on YouTube. And we're going to present this to your program, and hopefully you can pass this along to your program and have fun. And this is about people getting to know the coaches from their programs, and that's that. And like I said before, this is a Shore Conference covering program that I'm doing, and you're outside, and you have a lot of ties in the Shore Conference, a lot of friends. You have a great reputation here. You coached, and this is your 6th year at New Egypt, and you're doing an excellent job there. You left my program to get to New Egypt for 2 years, and I'll tell you what, I'm proud as can be. Anytime an assistant coach leaves my program to be a head coach, I'm your biggest fan out there. You were at Barnegat for 2 years, and before Barnegat, you were at Manchester for 18 years, and you were an offensive coordinator for 8 of them, which that's where you had that reputation. And when I asked you to come over, man, you helped our program big time. And this is your 23rd year of coaching football. You come in with a lot of experience. I'm excited to have you on the show.
People are doing math to figure out how old I am. It's pretty scary. Little known fact, and New Egypt is actually in Ocean County. One of the only schools in Monmouth and Ocean County that are not in the Shore Conference. Love Shore Conference football. Have never stopped following Shore Conference football. Root for a lot of good guys, a lot of great coaches in the Shore Conference. And, Shore Conference has some of the best football in the state. I truly believe that. Truly believe that New Egypt is on that level, though, too. I feel like, I patterned myself as a coach around the coaches that have influenced me. The coaches that have been in my life from head coaching perspectives, coaches like Jerry O'Donnell and Coach Davis. I've taken stuff from every program. Coach Rob Panic, who's the AD at Jackson. You kind of take that stuff from each coach. Doug Covert, who's retired now, but you take, you take a little bit from each coach that you've coached with, and you take what you like, you leave what you don't, and you go on and you try to form who you are as a coach.
I hope you only took the good parts from me. Because there's a lot of bad stuff. I have a lot of bad habits.
That's for off air. No, there are no bad habits.
Just stay away from my wife with that. Yeah.
Your pregame meal is a little weird. The peanut butter and jelly is just a little bit strange.
Coach, when you come to Barnegat with our pregame meals, you put on 10 pounds every month, man. Right? You start out looking like a wide receiver coach, and you end up being a 3 technique coach.
I have lost some weight since I've left the Barnegat program. So.
Well, that is great, man. Like I said, a lot of people in the Shore Conference are excited to hear you talk on our talk show. And again, after you, we're going to get right into the Shore Conference coaches. We have a lot of great football coaches and programs in the Shore Conference that I love to talk about and brag about on this show, which we're going to be doing throughout the summer. Coach, this is going to lead us into our first section, the process. Now, I'm all about the process. Everybody, you like shortcuts in life. People like just see you as a head coach, and they don't want to know how you got there. Me, personally, I love the grind, the process on how you got to point where you're at in New Egypt. Please, I want you to take this time right here and talk about when you first started football to how you got to New Egypt as a head football coach, and talk about individual stops on the
Sure,
way. But the
sure.
process to me is very, very important because there's no shortcuts to get to
Now,
where you want to get to. Coach, go ahead.
so the funny thing is what drove me to be a coach was just the fact that I played, and I played at Manchester Township from '89 to '92. Graduated Manchester '93, went off to college, but I never really got that high school football experience out of my system. I didn't go to college to play football, which is fine, but I never got the fact of what the process entailed, the weight room, the bonds between teammates, the bonds between coaches, and it drove me back. And the fact that I had a great relationship with Doug Covert, and I offered to volunteer, during, right outside of college, and he gave me a shot, and I just fell in love with it. And through Doug, I got introduced to Rob, and through Rob, I got introduced to Jerry, and I just kind of stuck around Manchester. It was just great. It was my home. It was a great place to be. I love being there. It got me actually into education. I wasn't in the educational world before I started coaching. It got me into education. And then as you go along, just like everybody else, you kind of either, overstay or outgrow your spot. And I was lucky enough to move on to Barnegat and see how how different things were there, and learn from you and some awesome assistant coaches there. Coach Coving, Coach Smith, Coach Burke, awesome guys to learn from and be around.
All good guys too. Yep.
All great guys, and they help shape who you are as well. And you kind of move on, and you kind of venture out. And the head coaching thing was always in the back of my mind. And we got a call and said, you have a chance to go interview for this. I didn't even know the job was open. I went and interviewed, and lucky enough I got it. And then time flies, and you don't have a lot of time, as to review what you've done until you're done. So we've had some great accomplishments. We won a division. We had some home state playoff games in New Egypt, have a bunch of players going on and playing at the next level. But it's always, as a head coach, is what's your next thing? What do you have to do? Where do you have to go? I had some great conversations with my dad this morning. And just, he's like, you need to slow down. I'm like, slow down? I'm like, the season's going on. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's no slowing down. So I love it. I love the grind. I love the process. Like you said, I don't think the normal person, the normal athlete, really realizes how much work that you put in to your program and to your athletes, which is fine, because most coaches don't coach for the recognition. They coach for the love of coaching. So, that's kind of where I've got to where I am. I love what I do. I don't consider what I do work. I get compensated to go coach sports and be able to educate kids, and that in itself is a pretty special thing. So absolutely love what I do, and kind of feel like I've been put on this earth to do what I do. So
I love hearing about everybody's resume. It's really to me, it's really something neat to hear how people got to it. Because think of it, if you made one turn here, one turn there years ago, maybe you would never be where you're at right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Just be thankful where you're at. You're successful where you're at, and it's definitely something I love hearing. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Okay, Coach, looking at this mask, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this mask off. I am done with the COVID. Do you understand that? Everybody talks about the negative stuff with the COVID, and us football coaches wanted to make the best out of the situation with COVID. I want you to tell everybody here, give us one positive that your program found out of the COVID season.
Yeah, so obviously, amongst all the negatives, you have to find the positive, right? And last year, we were able to communicate with our student athletes via this Google Meets and being able to record that. We actually taught our offense through Google Meets and recordings of Google Meets of me saying, okay, this is how we're going to run our crossing patterns. This is how we're going to run our blocking schemes. This is how we're going to run our defense. Our defense coordinator would get on and do meets. And kids would be on, but the kids that couldn't be on, because whatever reason, we would record those sessions and put them in our Google Classroom, even though we couldn't be with them. That totally changes the way that you do film sessions now. It totally changes the way that you do weeknight meetings to go over. We can go at 8:30 after the kids do their homework and say, okay, it's Wednesday night. Let's look at film of Riverside. Let's look at their tendencies. Let's look at what this is the kid we got to block. This is the kid we got to defend, whatever it might be. And they could be in the comfort of their home, and I could be home. It's great for family relationships.
Yeah.
It's great for the kids. And it's one of those things. One of my favorite coaches in the world is a guy, Joe Taylor, who I used to coach a line with. He says sometimes working smarter and not harder is the best for the kids. And kids can do it on their own time. Maybe Saturday film sessions, we don't come into school anymore. We do it maybe Sunday night at 7:00 and let the kids, get the stuff that they need to do done. And we can handle a lot of stuff virtually now. Still with the same accountability, but one of those things, working smarter, not harder, and cutting down on some of the travel time and some of the necessities.
Well, Coach, you hit it in the head, because we did the same thing. When you're physically on the football field and you tell the football players, now let's go to the classroom, they got to take their equipment off, march them all into a classroom, and then do what you had to do, which you could do on virtual anyway. So it's a lot easier and all that stuff. Now, my wife loved the fact that I didn't have to go and travel away to do meetings, which was good and bad. Sometimes you like to get away. But, with that being done and said, I thought there were a lot of positives on how we communicate. I also had my college football coach organize a college football reunion. So we got everybody on our Zoom, and we instead of meeting at Bar A, we met on the computer, and it just reconnected. So there are some positives to the COVID, because it forced us to maybe now zoom in on some things we probably normally wouldn't even thought of doing back in the day, right?
It's so funny. With some relatives and some friends, we actually did a virtual trivia night during COVID, where somebody came up with questions, and then we all competed, and there was a prize, and it was fun.
Right. Fun. So would you agree with me? Let's get rid of this thing. Thanks, Coach.
Done.
Thanks. Okay, now let's talk about the 2021 New Egypt high school football schedule that just came out a couple months ago. Coach, take the floor.
Okay. One thing that's different about the West Jersey Football League and New Egypt schedule, different than the Shore Conference, is that just because of COVID protocols, they instituted a second bye week. You'll see a bye week between our second game and our third game, the week of September 17th. You also see a bye week before our state playoff game. That's to get any games that might have been canceled due to COVID protocols or COVID reasons. We start out on the
Coach. That's actually, let me just interject with that.
Sure.
That actually was pretty smart, because with the COVID situation, you don't know who's going to be able to say we can still play. So you gave your conference gave each other a buffer in case there was a game to be made up for a certain week, correct?
Correct. We actually lost 3 games to COVID protocols last year. We only played out of the 8 we were supposed to play. We only got 5 in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a challenge. I think it's a good idea. It definitely changes your perspective about your fall and what you're going to do in the summer leading up to your fall. The first game against Riverside on September 2nd is actually before school even starts, which is something that's different for us at New Egypt. They have a new coach, which means that we have to do a lot of prep work in August to be ready for them.
Wow.
They're a team that we usually play every year, but with a new coach coming in, it's a little bit different. We move on to Lindenwold, so the second game in a row is on the road. Again, another team with a new coach. So again, a lot of prep work going in the months of August. Bye week on to Robbinsville, who's kind of our rival. Coach Patterson does a great job at Robbinsville. Very strong team over the past few years.
Now they actually played Wall in the state playoffs. So Coach Patterson's got that program rolling right now, like you said, and they're one of the better teams that you're going to be playing, right?
Yeah, especially when they're a Group 3 school in our division and a division opponent. We're a Group 1 school going up against them. That presents a little bit of trouble for us.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a tough one last year. We actually led in the fourth quarter, wound up losing 15-2. But we kind of have that one starred on our schedule as one of the important ones. They're all important. I don't mean to downplay the other opponents.
Correct.
But when you have a rival on your schedule, you kind of look to that and look forward to playing them. It's always a good game. We move on to Overbrook, another division opponent. Don't know a ton about them. This is the second year of that schedule cycle, and Overbrook we didn't get a chance to play last year because of COVID protocol. So we'll scout them and learn a lot about them. Traditionally, a good school. Pittman coming off a 5-2 year, another very very strong school. At least a Group 1 school that we play. So at least we're not playing a bigger school. Gloucester Catholic, will be on a Saturday. Just don't know the time. Might be a Friday. It depends. They have lights. They haven't released the time that. But again, we've played them twice in my tenure at New Egypt, and we've split with them. We won at home. We lost on the road. So should be a great game. Haddon Township, another Group 1 school. That coach has their program going in the right direction. So that should be a great game as well. Then you go into the state playoffs, and you work to get a home state playoff game, and hopefully things fall in your favor, and you can move on to round 2 and get to the championship game, and you just go from there. We are one of those few schools in New Jersey left who have a Thanksgiving Day game. Those are always fun, and we play Bordentown. Coach Edwards is there and does a good job with his program, and that traditionally has been a really, really strong and fun game to play in.
Yes.
Usually freezing, though. Don't love the cold.
Now, Coach, very, very unique situation is you could play your state final and then play in the Thanksgiving Day game, which usually the state final is after the Thanksgiving Day game this year.
Correct.
So, hey, that would be a nice problem to have, wouldn't it?
I would love to be faced with that situation in those decisions.
Coach, thank you very much for talking about your schedule for our fans.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Okay, Coach, now let's talk 2021 New Egypt football team, this year's football team. But I have a couple questions before we talk about it. Can you tell everybody about your offensive and defensive schemes, what you guys run, and then lead us into who are your returning players, key returning players, offensively, defensively, and also special teams?
We're really excited in New Egypt. It should be a really special year for us. First of all, offensively, we run a mixture of things. My offensive philosophy, and I run the offense in New Egypt, is to make teams defend the whole field. I like the defensive coordinator to think, okay, I got to cover deep and I got to cover short. I got to cover the box. It really determines what they're going to give us box-wise. They're going to give us an 8-man box, a 7-man box, whatever, a 6-man box, whatever it might be, and we got to be able to take advantage of whatever they give us. So we run 10 personnel, which is for those who don't know, it's one back, 0 tight ends, 4 wide receivers. We're going to run some empty scheme this year. We run 11 personnel. Which is 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 back. But we also have the ability to go, 21 personnel and run power and ISO and counter and, whatever suits us the best and wherever we match up well. Defensively, our defensive coordinator, Coach Tom Letson, his theory, and he's a short guy, he says we're going to take away what teams do best. We're a 4-4 scheme primarily. We try to make Group 1 high school quarterbacks try to throw the ball, which is usually a challenge. But we have the ability to move guys out of the box and cover if need be. We went up against Robbinsville last year and Holy Cross last year, which were big wide receiver screen teams, and we would take backers out of the box and go jam receivers. So we take away what you do best and try to make you beat us with what you're not a customer used to doing. For some players, like I said, it's a really, really special year. I returned 4 kids who are going to be 4-year starters.
Wow. Now that's nice.
Yeah, so the first I'd like to talk about is Ashton Sempervivi, who is a DN who's 6'3", 240, who's getting recruited by schools like Columbia and Marist. Really, really just great. They're just all the kids are great kids. They're really awesome kids. The other is Ashton just plays DN and tackle for us. It's just one of those kids who's dominating. When you see him, he's just a dominant force on both sides of the ball. Luke LaCava plays center, may play a little guard for us, also plays defensive end. He's been a part of our program, starter for 4 years on the O-line. Nick Sturdo, who's being recruited by TCNJ, he plays middle linebacker for us and guard. So we return, 3 4-year starters on the O-line. Our quarterback's a 4-year starter. He threw for 602 yards last year in only 5 games. We only have 5 games, so he threw for 600 yards in 5 games. We return our running back who rushed for 500 yards in 5 games. He also plays outside backer for us. Our quarterback plays safety for us. Our running back's a 3-year returning starter. Our wide receiver, Jacob Kramer, had 14 catches last year. He's a 3-year starter. But we also have those kids who play huge roles. Kids like Luke Peslak, Carter Cooey, those type of kids play huge roles on our team at spots. And just complete who you are. When you're a head coach, you know that you're always going to have your core group of guys that are very good high school football players. You usually find your wins by those role players that maybe go one way, or, those special teams kids who just come in and make plays for you and gives your guys break. That's usually how you win in high school football, especially at the Group 1 level where you don't have that depth. If I lose one guy, I need that backup guy. There were years that I've taken guards and made them quarterbacks and receivers and made them fullbacks. It just happens that way in Group 1 football.
Wow. You're right. You win with your role players, your star players. That's where people hear about it on the media and all that. But your core players, your role players, those guys, man, that's how you win programs. You really, really do, man. You really do. Coach, let me add this, though. With statistics, your statistics or everybody's statistics last year, you can't compare them to other years. And the reason for that is because some people played 5 games, some people played 4. So you almost have to give like the average statistic per game. And that's kind of it stinks because you had some guys that probably could have broke some school records on some seasons, but they were on pace to do it. But that's that. But you know what? Last year, everybody was just happy we got a chance to play football anyway. And talking to you through the year, you are excited about this class of football players.
We return 8 out of 11 on defense with a defense that average giving up less than 14 points a game. So, we are fired up. We're excited to get going. The season can't come soon enough. But then in the back of your head, you're thinking, oh, man, I got so much to do before I get to that first game.
Yeah, you got to stay healthy. That's the main thing, especially in Group 1. If you get one guy injured, it dominoes the defense, special teams, and then another guy maybe has to long snap into that. Coaching Group 1 and sometimes Group 2 could be a challenge because it could affect your whole domino effect with coaching. Yep.
My running back is my long snapper. He's also my outside linebacker, who's also my kick returner, who could also be my wing on punt on PAT block.
And he's also selling tickets in the stands too. He does it all.
Absolutely.
He does it all.
And he's scoring 1,000 points on the basketball.
That's awesome. That is so awesome, Coach. Well, hey, that was great. You have a lot to look forward, Coach, and we're going to end this talk show right now. And I want to thank you for representing New Egypt High School as your head football coach and coming on to the talk show, Coach's Talk, which is run by the Shore Football Report. And I'm going to be looking very closely at you guys and looking at your athletes and just being a fan from the outside. And maybe someday you guys will be part of the Shore Conference, because to me it doesn't make sense while you're not in the Shore Conference.
No, I know. Listen, I have great relationships with some of the Group 1 Shore Conference schools, great relationship with Point Beach, and great relationship with Keensburg and Keyport. All those guys are great coaches. Listen, nothing would make me happier. I love the West Jersey Football League, don't get me wrong, but I'm a Shore guy. I live in the Shore. I grew up in the Shore. Whatever happens, those are powers beyond me. We'll get our team ready and we'll play who's on our schedule and hopefully do well.
Well, one thing I know, wherever you go at, you are very successful and you bring a lot of positive vibes and attention to your program. And hopefully you can spread the word about the Shore Football Report on social media, Instagram, you got Twitter, and you also got YouTube. And also we have a Google form, Coach, that you can send out to your program where they can go on an email list so they can get all the videos of all the coaches that we're going to have on through the whole summer. And you just started off our first ever show of Coach's Talk, which we got a lot of great guests coming on throughout the weeks. And I'm very proud to have this show. And I was very proud to have you on here, Coach.
Well, I'm honored that I was the first guy. And I know I can't wait to see some of the guests that you have on,
Oh,
because
yeah.
a lot of guys that I follow and a lot of guys that I respect and try to emulate are going to be on the show. So that's pretty cool.
We got a lot to be proud about in the short conference, and you are one of them, Coach. Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Best
it,
of
Coach.
luck to you guys and
Thank you.
New Egypt High School in the 2021 season, Coach. Thank you very much.